celebrate the life of Ron Piscitelli. Now, the reason I'm up here talking is because I've been to a lot of funerals with my dad, and I know he's never happy. And it's not because it's any of his business, although I'm sure he would love it to be. It was just because he wanted to represent the person that I was, and he didn't feel like it did. So, the only way for me to be happy and know that I am happy is that I have to be up here talking. So, that's why I'm here. So, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Thank you for all the support from myself, my mom Ellen, my sister Alex. We really appreciate everyone. It has meant a lot to us. So, thank you so much. The schedule that we're going to do, I'm going to give a two-part eulogy. And it's not a traditional eulogy. But I'm going to go and do the first part, then I'm going to invite a few people up to talk. Then I'm going to do the second part, and then we're going to show a short DVD. So, with my dad, he was one of the most amazing people I've ever known. He really was. He was just that special type of person that you always wanted to be around. I had a certain speech picked out because, well, one, I was stressing out about it because you have to condense someone's life in 10 minutes. And I scratched it this morning, so I'm going to do the best I can to go through what I have now. But what I'm going to do now is, in the first part, I'm going to give 3 main categories with random stories in between. And just tell stories about him, because I think that'll show the type of person that he was. And I think you'll get a good understanding of how much I cared about him and how much we all cared about him. And then the second part will be 3 more categories with stories. So they'll go in the same type of format. But the first category that I have to talk about are business. So he grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. That was always so important to him. And you could tell, based on his life, he always tried to do things with the goal of eventually finding out what his passion was in life and doing it. So whether it was for my grandfather, his father, had a shoe factory in Brockton, and I'll talk about Brockton in a little while. He always helped in that. He worked in a newspaper, working on sales. He had a deli with my mom, the Piscitelli. So, Piscitelli. I don't know where they got that piece, but they had that. The 3 that I'm going to talk about, just briefly, one is his biggest business, and that was with my mom. They had a janitorial business. They had it for over 30 years. They still have it now. It had over 100 employees at one point. And the thing that my dad really loved about it was that it gave him the lifestyle that he wanted. And the lifestyle he wanted was to be around his family. He loved us. So I think it really succeeded when you think about that, because that's exactly what he wanted out of it. Probably the most fun he had with the job. He loved motivating people and helping people discover what they loved to do and what they wanted to be. And so he did that in the form of writing, which he wrote 4 adult books. And most of them with the purpose of helping someone find what they wanted to do in life. He also did business coaching, which he had a lot of fun with. The story that I remembered from that, he ended up coaching people from around the world, and it was really great. But the first international person he had was from Canada, and the gentleman reminded me of it because I completely forgot. But he talked to this gentleman all the time, and they had a lot of fun talking about goals and what he wanted to do and this and that. That was until my dad got the phone bill. And then he realized, I'm never calling Canada again. So, he had a lot of fun with the coaching. The thing that was his most passionate business that he ended up starting to pursue really when I was in high school, was his kids' books. So he wrote his first kids' book when I was really young. And he wrote it because I was young and there were all these books and they were just people-y-goop. There was nothing great about them. And he wrote it because he wanted to teach me good values. He believed that kids could really improve and learn and be trained in a lot of ways. So he wrote me a book with me being the main character called Setting a Goal. And I really wanted this big, giant purple ball from the supermarket. And so he had me raising the $5 to get that big, giant purple ball. And I did it by helping family members, by helping neighbors and friends, and I ended up getting it at the end. So he wanted to teach me that value of the importance of goals. So up to the point where I was in high school, that's when he really figured out how to do publishing and get into that. And he ended up writing more than 20 different books, publishing 20 different books, and getting started in that. And my biggest regret for him is that he isn't going to be able to see them become successful. But I want to make them so, because I believed in them and I believed in him. So category 2, how special and unique he was. He was, even from a young age, he was just that special type of person that just saw things that no one else did. He wasn't the type of person that went with the crowd. He went with what he wanted to do. So from the young age, one of the stories I really liked was he was probably about maybe 8. His brother Paul, Butchie, was about high school age. And my grandma, his mother, would go around yelling, "Butchie, you son of a bitch. Butchie, you son of a bitch. Get out of bed. Butchie, go to school." So my dad finally goes, "You know, Mom, you can't say that to him. That's the only person you can't say that to. It's like you're running around saying, 'Butchie, I'm a bitch. Butchie, I'm a bitch. Go to school.'" So not many people would point that out, but even at a very young age, he could point something like that out. He always loved to learn. And what I thought was unique about that, because he always believed that, you know, people can take anything away from you, but they can't take your mental. They can't take what you're learning. So he had a rating system. He read a lot of books. I love that he had a rating system for all his books. He had a big library. And if you look at any of the covers of the books, there'll be a star from 1 to 5, his signature, and why he thought it deserved a 5 or a 1 or a 3. And it was always funny because, you know, a lot of times he was right, and I do agree with him. The funny story about that, I meant to ask you, Mom. So we moved from the house we were at before to the house we are now, and people were complaining. I feel like, was it Tara that was complaining about? Sissy. So Sissy was complaining about how heavy all these things were that she had to carry into the new house. So she thought, you know, she knew he read and did different things, so she thought it was books. Actually, it was bricks that she had to carry. And that was because he made the bookshelves he had in his library all out of wood planks and bricks. So what she was carrying that she thought was heavy, but within reason, was actually bricks. So, I don't think she ever will help us move again. So he was just a very unique person. Matt, one of his friends, reminded me that he would always bend spoons. He took this course, a lecture about how to bend spoons with your mind, so he could do that on command. And it was very interesting, all the different things he could do. When would you ever find someone who created their own holiday? But he did. So it was the first Saturday of October, and it was really to celebrate him and my mom, but celebrate family too. And they would take a door off the hinges and eat on the door, try a new food, and that was the holiday he created for us. Because he thought, you know, there's so many traditional holidays, why can't we have a holiday? So, just the type of unique, special person he was. One of the things that I think really makes him a special person is just how many obstacles he had to face. Because he had to face a lot, and the special part about that is that most of the people in this room couldn't even name one. And I think that really shows the type of person he was, because he didn't let excuses dictate his life, he didn't let obstacles, he just did them. And he pursued what he wanted to do. And that's one of the things that I think was special about him. The two other stories that I wanted to tell within the special category, one was just, I told you earlier that he wanted to train a kid into being a certain type of way. So he wanted me to be very entrepreneurial, go after my goals, be independent. And one of the things he wanted to encourage was just his love for learning. So we would always have a contest for reading, because he wanted to get me into it. And maybe you can tell I was very competitive even from a young age. But we would have a contest every year that whoever read the most books got a trophy. So it was always favored in my way that I would win. I think I actually won some years, even when I was 5, but I really do. But we would always have trophies, and one of the stories he really liked was me. It was when I was maybe about 5. I had won the trophy, and it was me, my mom, and him out to eat. And And the waitress came up and said, "Oh, what did you get that for?" And I said, "I beat them." I know he loved that because he thought that was hilarious. He thought everything was hilarious, but that was one of them. The last story I want to tell is in this section. So I told you he really liked to learn and was special in his own way. One of the books he read that I really liked was The Power of Healing, that you could heal with touch. So I just love this story because I think it really represents him. But he was telling my Auntie Etta, so his aunt, my grandma's sister, he was saying, you know, I read this book and I know how to heal. And she's like, well, actually, I have pain. Can you come over? So he did. He came over and he said, okay, now I'm going to have to touch the thing that is in pain. So where are you in pain? She's like, well, it's my butt. So he's like, well, so they decided to do it anyway. I don't know why they decided, but they did. So he was there with his hand about like this. But he healed her. We were laughing because wouldn't that be great if we had that picture right now? That would be the picture up here. That's what I would use. But it was just amazing the type of person he was, because he was that unique, special person that believed you could really do anything you wanted. So the third category, things he loved. And I had more fun with the category of things he hated, which is going to come in the second part. But there are a lot of things he loved and hated. So one of the things, there's a long list I have. The main one is family. He just loved family. He loved the three of us. We were his best friends. He loved being around us. And I honestly can't really even believe he's not here with us because he just loved us so much. He loved all of our family. He reached out to people, even if he didn't know them, that he remembered them from when he was young. We have family that are in our lives now because he found someone on Facebook and they happened to be the Piscitellis from Boston, as they were called. We had Piscitellis from Brockton, Piscitellis from Wareham, but the Piscitellis from Boston we now know because he reached out to them on Facebook. So family was one of his big loves. My mom was one of the biggest loves he had. And I'm not going to look at her because it's hard enough talking in a direction. They met at 19, and they had so many different adventures together. It was the type of relationship that all of us would want. I mean, whether it was moving from Massachusetts to California, whether it was starting businesses together, which they tried to do a lot of different things. They just had a lot of different adventures together. And I promise the stories after this won't be as sad, but one of the stories that I really like regarding that, so he, probably about within the 6 months before he passed away, he had told me he had a dream, and he's like, well, don't tell Alex because I don't want to scare her. And I said, okay. And he said, you know, they're calling me to this light at the end of the tunnel, and I said, I'm not going. I can't leave Ellen. I don't want to leave her. I can't go. And he said, well, that's probably why I'm here now. So we'll get back to that later a little bit, but that just shows the bond that he had with my mom because he always wanted to be with her. So he loved the piano. He loved painting. He has so many different paintings that we have. He painted things for us when we were younger, so we would remember every year what we were doing and what was important to us. He had different things. He painted scenes of San Diego. He painted scenes for people when they got married and did different things. He painted his dreams. He just painted scenes of family because that's really what he loved. Sports. He loved sports. And he loved both the San Diego and Boston teams. And again, I have a story about that later in the second half, so you'll be anticipating everything that I'm going to say. But the two stories I'm going to say about sports, one was he always had his lucky spots, so how he would have to sit or how he would have to hold his hands. So if the Chargers would do well, it was all based on that. And he had a chair, his chair that he sits in normally when he watches sports. I don't know if this is the real reason why he never wanted to get rid of it, but I suspect it's something regarding this. But it has been broken for about a year. It's so broken that when he sits, if you look at it, it looks really sad because it's like sloped like that. It's not even close to being the chair that anyone would sit. We haven't sat in it since because who wants to? But he kept that because